Can you tell a bit about your background, like what about your work you did and your experience?
I'm basically retired now for the last 7 years. By training, I'm a surgeon. I did my MBBS here in Chennai, Madras Medical College, and then went over to the United States where I was there for about 6 years and did my surgical training in the US. Came back to India in 1981, and I set up and ran the Sundaram Medical Foundation in Chennai, in Anna Nagar. It's a multi-specialty teaching hospital that I don't know, helped conceive and put up from the ground up. And I ran it for about 22 years before I finally retired in 2016. Besides just being a surgeon, I also actively ran the entire hospital in terms of all the educational packages, the entire planning, forecasting. In fact, you'll get a small summary of what I did if you go to my website. I'll give you the link later. If you go there, there is a little bit of a summary that will tell you all the stuff that I did in the hospital, where when I was there actively running it. And then I retired, and right now I'm not actively involved in the practice of medicine, but I do keep all the time talking to people. People come to me for advice, opinions, and all that. But I'm no longer in active practice. I have, through the course of my career, I have mentored on dozens of young people, most of whom are now in very advanced positions in their own spheres. And I've had a fairly good reputation for being also both a lecturer and a teacher. So that's my background. It's basically, I also have had a very long and abiding interest in information technologies in healthcare. We were one of the earliest hospitals that was fully online, even in the 1990s, very early on.
Wow.
And well before I left, I even converted the entire outpatient, a lot of the inpatient operations paperless. A lot of in my early days, I even used to write my own code. My background with IT goes back as far as my background with MBBS. I've had computers probably well before you were even born. From the days of the original Apple II Plus and all that, I've seen the entire IT revolution grow. So I have almost a parallel interest in information technologies as I do in healthcare. And my own area was able to blend the two and bring a lot of information technology aspects into the hospital that we ran. And it is known as one of the pioneers in digitizing healthcare. And we've got a lot of stuff that we did. I still have a lot of interest in that. But that gives you a wrap as my background. I would call myself a first a surgeon, educator, and healthcare administrator. Three areas that I worked in.
So it's great that you have worked as a surgeon and then you transformed into an educator, and then you also learned coding by yourself. And way before even the technology that actually people adopted the technology, you have done so much stuff in this. So how did you actually integrate IT into your companies? Like which company have you applied this technology and how have you brought it forward?
Actually, we were so far ahead of the curve that most of the stuff I implemented was developed in-house. We had our own developers. Small things we kind of contracted out, but much of the both the architecture as well as the implementation was done in-house by us. In recent years, once about somewhere around 10, 12 years ago, we also took the decision to incorporate a fairly major ERP package into the running of the hospital. At that point in time, we had to bring in an outside vendor. My skill set does not go that far out. Right now, I believe that the hospital belongs to the well-known TVS family, the TVS industrial group. They fund this as a charitable project. And so a lot of their IT support comes from within their own parent organization, because they have a huge an IT division. But a lot of the early development in the early years was all done by us in-house. We didn't find anybody who could do what we wanted. And so a lot of it is self-developed, implemented, and everything by ourselves. There are no the ERP package is, of course, one of the branded packages. I don't suddenly recollect some local group, but other than that, we have not dealt with any branded or well-known. And there are any number available now. You can't. It's a huge number of choices that you have for hospital management. But in the early days when I implemented it, we were one of the pioneers. We had nothing that we could choose from. We had to develop our own.
Yes. So you used IT. So how have you scaled other than these techniques that you have used, other than
Pardon?
IT? Sorry, what are the
Uh,
other scaling techniques have you used to scale your companies?
a lot of the others would suppose be just from a business standpoint, nothing specific other than we believe very strongly in two things. One, we give very high quality care. We are all virtually every single certification process, quality certification process we have from the days of the ISO through the NABH to NABL. And the NABH is now the emerging standard for hospitals. We were one of the earliest to get that. We have the national similar program for laboratories. And we were one of the first people to get a certification for IT implementation and security way back 20 years ago when it was just being offered. So those are all the, but also as a policy, we believe we have no advertising budget at all. We don't do any active paid for advertising. The entire growth of the whole hospital has been only through word of mouth. We have never placed a thing. Yeah. We have never placed a single ad or spent money or any kind of an ad spend in the last 25 years that we existed. It's purely by virtue of word of mouth. So other than that, we also have very strong emphasis on education for private hospitals which are outside of the classic university teaching hospital mode. And there used to be this called the National Board of Education. Now, and the NBE that used to offer postgraduate training in a wide range of specialties. And we, as a private hospital, we had some of the largest number of programs. I had 11 programs, 11 postgraduate programs for which we trained young people. We've been doing that nearly for 20 plus years now, and a lot of them are all over the place. We had a very strong commitment to education, strong commitment. We had a very well-stocked library. We encourage our people to publish, attend meetings, a very strong educational background, which we believe is the core of quality in healthcare. Healthcare, everybody thinks is technology. Healthcare is technology is only an aid. Technology is not the end of healthcare. People seem to think that if I have the most powerful CT scan or the most powerful MRI or this tech and that tech, I've arrived. No, that's only an aid, and that's not going to be. And in fact, if you misuse it, or a lot of times incentivization is monetary, a lot of these technology investment is made as businesses, and the people who put their money in there want return. So much so they don't really care whether a test needs to be done or was necessary or not. You just order everything, and that creates its own problems. Testing should not be done on a random basis. There is a certain science. All my healthcare, what we call evidence-based healthcare, is driven by algorithms, is driven by well-worked out technologies. So we're firm believe we had everything at the hospital we had, but before our technology was adopted, we would really make sure that it would be able to provide a definite improvement in quality to the patient. We never bought technology for its own sake. We were never the first, we were never the first with anything. As they say, it's the it's the second mouse that gets the cheese. The famous thing, it's the first mouse gets caught in the trap, the second mouse that gets the cheese. So we were always extremely careful about implementation of technology. We would definitely spend, and we do in the hospital have all the latest, but it would never be out of an issue of as an investment to get money. It only would be implemented if we could clearly show evidence that supported the fact that this technology will enhance patient care and keep costs down. Costs are a very big factor now in healthcare. It's like it'll run into a huge amount, and so we had that dual commitment, the best of quality, but almost also making sure that the burden was not passed across the patient. The hospital is very well thought of, and it's extremely well reputed in our part of the part of Chennai and another.
So what do you think about AI technology which came up now recently?
I don't quite know what to think about it. I've been playing around like everybody else with ChatGPT. It is in many ways alarming because one, the potential for unverified information being disseminated is huge. And a lot of people, much like, the expression was, I found it on Google, immediately says that, gives it a certain sanctity. People are now going to say ChatGPT did it. It's an extremely powerful tool. There's no question at all. But on the other hand, I worry that it's going to make people lazy. there's going to be no real effort in educating yourself as to why that particular commitment was given, and also it's going to be taking it for gospel. You see, the one thing about difference between the Wikipedia and AI is Wikipedia is human edited. And
Yes.
what you can, and the strength of the Wikipedia lies in the fact that there are lots of people verifying every word that's written. Whereas ChatGPT, you don't know what the backend is doing. It is, as a technology, I think it is absolutely mind-blowing what it's capable of doing. But at the same time, my own concern is it can't evaluate quality. It can't evaluate quality, and more, it will tend to make younger people lazy. They say, much like completely Google removed the need for libraries. No modern student goes to a library anymore. Same way we're worrying about whether ChatGPT will remove the need for thinking. And that's dangerous. No, you can't do that. It's exciting technology. I don't think you can, and it won't go away. It definitely will get stronger, better as it goes. The challenge with us is going to be able to take it to forward science, to forward the truth. The technology is equally capable of forwarding misinformation and lies. And people should have the sensibility and the capability of being able to separate the two. And you don't get that out of the blue. You have to be taught that. Okay,
Yes.
so it's actually, I think AI is going to make the job harder. I don't think it's going to make it easier. It's going to bring in another layer that you now have to be careful of. And, Google made a lot of students very lazy. When I was growing up and all that, writing a paper meant sitting in the library with 7 books around you and writing down notes from one to the other and consolidating and all that. Google made all that very easy. It just came, boom, it's there in your, and literature searching and everything. It's by itself not wrong, but this has taken it to another level. It's looking at the text and then writing out the whole thing for you.
Yeah.
And that is, that's quite, but it is, what has shown is that the power of the technology, there's no question at all. It's amazingly powerful. And I think most people are not aware of how much, power there is now in computing technology. I mean, all of us, and I'm sure you've heard that this has been the single most used app in the world's history. Something like 100 million people have logged on to it for the last 3 months. So it's got all that advanced publicity, and both Microsoft and Google are rushing into trying to incorporate it into their search technologies, to the extent where Google also got into a lot of trouble when they inaugurated their thing, and it was very poorly done. But that is going to happen. It's going to be merged into search technologies, and I'm very concerned about what it's going to do with regards to the quality of information. It's going to be very, very scary. But it's fantastic technology that you can't take that away. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
I think Microsoft has already ingrained ChatGPT into its Bing search.
Yeah.
So now even Google is trying to come up with something called as Bard, which is actually a new technology developed by Google.
Yeah, and when they inaugurated Bard 3 days ago, apparently it was like a big setback to them because it came up with a lot of wrong answers.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not foolproof technology, Yeah. But it is going to happen. There is no way that you can avoid that. The challenge is, how do we verify? How do we verify the quality of the information that we're getting? That's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, what do you think about? Exactly. So, what do you think about diagnosing with the help of ChatGPT? Because if we give it what we are feeling and what are the symptoms, it is going to test us. And what do you think about it giving us the whole diagnosis by itself?
It already has happened, no? In several areas, there are modules that will do it for you. I was involved with a project which unfortunately did not see the light of day almost 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, entirely trying to do this, where you feed in symptoms and data. And even with the technology that we had at that time, we were able to get very good quality support. That will also happen for sure. And I think that is what is called computer-assisted diagnosis. Will get better and better. And there are some areas where it's been shown that the computer-aided diagnosis is actually better than the human beings, especially with radiology. Many aspects of radiology now, they're saying you will not even need a doctor to look at the film because the thing is able to scrutinize. All the inputs are coming in digitized now. feed it through the right algorithms. And in radiology, it's been shown that many number of instances, it actually works better. It definitely will increase to the extent where, you can sit in front of much like ChatGPT, you would probably sit in front of your console and, put in your symptoms, put in your tests, and it might give you an answer that might even be better than the average doctor.
Do you think, yeah, ChatGPT, do you think it is
That's
more
also scary,
accurate?
but will it be a problem?
Yeah,
But one thing I want to reinforce here, though, is that the healthcare transaction depends on a doctor and patient talking to each other. You
yeah,
cannot take that away. Now, tomorrow, even if you sat in front of a console and then got your diagnosis, you won't believe it till you go to the doctor. And you might use it to
exactly.
see whether the doctor is doing it correctly. That ultimate reassurance of another person across the table is very necessary part of healthcare. I don't think that will ever go away. I don't think, a lot of technology already has taken away a lot in the recent COVID epidemic. Telemedicine has come to stay.
Yes,
Prior to COVID, everybody used to laugh at telemedicine. Now, today it's now definitely incorporated into practice, and there are so many things that it has made convenient for both the
yeah,
patient and the doctor. So just the same way, all these artificial intelligence technologies in diagnosis will come in. There's no way that will not come in. But the challenge again will be blending, in the sense that how much the role of the doctor will be to use that to enhance his diagnostic abilities and to make sure I think it will deliver better care. I am absolutely sure it will deliver better care. And I also might displace a lot of physicians. I have a feeling that if you are a young person now going into healthcare, you have to be careful that you're going in only because you really truly want to help people.
yeah,
Otherwise, let's be honest, for a lot of people, the attraction of healthcare is the money, right? You make
yes,
more money than a lot of other professions. That will go. You won't be able to enter healthcare just for that. You will have to
yeah,
enter healthcare out of the original sense of having compassion and caring for the patient and being there to tell them, hey, listen, I'm your guide through this whole process. It will definitely attract, it will, for people who are in it for the money or purely as a economic proposition, they will be threatened by these kind of technologies. These technologies will easily replace them. It's there. You cannot deny it. You cannot put your head in the sand. And they're getting better and better.
yeah. So I saw this in COVID time, right? I saw many startups or else many physical consultations only have shifted to telemedicine.
Yeah.
So we already saw that. We saw platforms like Practo. I don't know some names of it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to bring that up, but there is one technology, there is one company, and it totally bases its diagnosis on using AI. It will take total symptoms and it will ask you to put up photos, and it will take the data and give you diagnosis directly. I think it
Yeah.
is in
Yeah.
cancer especially. I think in
Yeah,
cancer
it will
we,
do that. Not,
yeah,
yeah.
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 I don't want to give that name, but will it be accurate? Like even for cancer, if you take an AI to diagnose the disease?
Yes, it can be because again, take one specific example, breast cancer, right? A lot of early diagnosis of breast cancer is dependent on this technology called mammography. Now, all of mammography now is totally digitized, and it has been shown that it can pick up cancers with greater accuracy than the human eye can. But there is also a downside to it in the sense that it overdiagnoses. A lot of times, in the sense it doesn't have that, it overdiagnoses, and that has its own problems because you now have to go around showing that this is not the correct diagnosis. So the day will come, it will definitely be an aid, but I don't think you can totally displace the doctor and just, ultimately you're going to need treatment, and who's going to give you the treatment? Not the machine. Whatever the treatment is, if some process, some intervention, you won't trust it unless the machine can give you a guidance. It can
Yeah,
tell you this is the latest information on this. This is the latest medication. These are the latest interventions. It can give you a pathway which you can follow with safety. But I don't think the day will come when any of us will feel comfortable totally going into a computer all the way through. No way. However much they may claim, accuracy will get better, no question at all, because all these systems are self-learning. No, as you input
yeah,
in more data, they're self-correcting, self-learning, which doctors won't do. Doctor will say, I
yeah,
went MBBS, I know the best thing. So that self-correcting and self-learning part of the technology is a very powerful plus point for these technologies. So you have to use it in assistance. It's never going to override, I don't think, or totally displace doctors or anything like that. It's going to be, doctors definitely have to clean up their act.
Yeah.
No question about it. You have to be even on this AI now, even for the last 10 to 15 years, all of us have been saying patients will come in who have done a Google search on their condition completely.
Yeah.
And for that particular instance, for what they have, since they have searched in depth, sometimes they know more than the doctor itself.
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't mean you can replace the doctor. They come because they still have, but that already happened. For 10 or 15 years, we've all been seeing patients who will come in completely with all the information in their background. Now, this is going to take it a step further, because it will even give you the pathway. How should you proceed? What are the options? What are the pros and cons of each? All that you can come armed with, which is not totally a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think empowering a consumer is a good thing. But at the end of the day, you still have to trust your doctor. You have to, which means that doctors have to clean up their act.
Yeah.
They have to be equally, familiar with the technology. They have to be sympathetic. They can't take on the attitude as, if you don't trust me, go away. That won't work. But the patient will go away and there'll be somebody else who will be able to do them.
Yeah.
So medical, as I said, medicine is going to be harder to practice. And it's certainly going to, eliminate those people who are in this for other reasons. It will, I think, increase the number of component of people who are truly concerned and who are in medicine because they want to be good doctors. They will be better doctors. I don't think they need to be afraid of the technology. The technology will only make them better. It won't displace them.
Yeah, it will most likely challenge the doctors to themselves give us more information rather than what's in Google. I mean, I don't think there will be more information. There will be like better information, which is more specified to that specific person.
Absolutely.
So actually, don't you think it will reduce the trust on doctor? Don't you think even if the doctor says something and we have read it in Google, and if you go to the doctor and if he says something else, won't that happen?
No, the trust factor is something that you build over time. It never happens on the first encounter. You go to a doctor, or somebody has already gone to this doctor and has come out with good outcomes. That's where the trust builds. So if the technology is helping you to get better outcomes, right, trust will only build.
Yeah.
Trust will never, it won't take away from the trust in a doctor. And there again, the attitude matters. If the doctor takes on an attitude of hostility, saying that, no, who asked you to go look at all of these things? I know better than the machines. That has to get watered down. You need a certain amount of humility now. You have to empathize. You have to, get over the fact that the patient is not there for information. The patient is there for relief from pain.
Yeah.
His only question is, what's going to happen to me? Will my pain go away? Will my condition go away? Is it something that will kill me? Is it dangerous? All that communicating cannot be done. It has to come out of the doctor's mouth. Yes. Patients are not going to believe it if it came from a machine. And that is dependent on this so-called trust factor, right? Yeah. And there are many things in this trust factor. One of the things in the trust factor is the degree of empathy that the doctor communicates.
Yeah.
That's what patients trust you for. They don't trust you for the content. They trust you because they feel that when they go to this man, he truly cares for me. He understands the fact that I'm in pain, I have anxieties, and is willing to work with me, right? That kind of doctor who does it for that reason, the good doctors, will never feel threatened by the technology. The reason they're good is because they have this empathy. The technology cannot replace the empathy and concern for the patient, and the ability to communicate that confidence. All of that can't be replaced with technology. Technology will make it better. He'll be able to tell you far more confidently, yes, this is what it is. No, that's not what that is. But the communication and the, information must be wrapped in empathy, which is what I'm getting back to again. All these technologies will make it harder for people who are not empathic, who are there in this business for other reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So even those people who are not open to taking more information, they will be totally taken out. So I will tell you my experience with doctors actually. I went to a doctor about my hair fall. So actually I did a research about hair fall. So I tried to solve it myself. So when I searched it online, many of the pages told that you need to take finasteride, you need to use minoxidil and some other tactics to generate hair follicles. So when I went to the doctor, they told that no, these are all online information. When I even did some research papers on this before going to the doctor. But when I went to the doctor, they told me some other alternative treatments. Like they told me to take PRP and some other treatments which you may be aware of. So they told me to take other alternative treatments. So in this case, what should I believe? Like I read some research papers and I went to the doctor and the doctor told me something totally different. And they told me to uh, delete this information. So at that time, should I take a second opinion or should I listen to that person only?
No, there are two ways to this. One, your first step would say, doctor, what about this? Tell him that I have done some, be honest about it and say,
Yeah,
I have done some reading up. What about this as an option, right? And if he is unwilling to consider or unwilling to discuss it or give you a good reason why not that, but this, then as a patient, you're perfectly within your rights to look for a second opinion.
yeah,
I don't think, second opinion is a right that the patient has. And I have always in my practice strongly encouraged it. If patient says I'm not confident, I say go ask somebody else. I have no issues there
yeah,
at all. So that is what is going to make it harder for the doctor now, because this decision regarding your own condition can be made with greater accuracy than at any other point in the past.
yeah.
Hello, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
now
I
the
can.
signal is good.
No, the decision or the request for a second opinion can be made with greater confidence, because your reading could have been. So that there again is a question of the patient, of the doctor's attitude. If he sees this as opposing his own intellect and his own skills, he's going to get angry.
Yeah,
Whereas if he sees it as a true concern of the patient, my attitude was always 40 years of practice, if I sense uneasiness in the patient, I say you go somebody else. That's all. Not, I wouldn't say it in a rude or an angry fashion. I would say it's perfectly within your right to look for a second opinion. And I think that's not, and I think all patients, if they're not comfortable with the approach or the investigative pathway of a physician, have perfect right to ask for a second opinion. It can make the confusion worse.
yeah,
It may ask you these, but that's the other issue also. It's, it's not always safe to get a second opinion, but in today's milieu, you can ask for second opinions based on a lot more information that you can get. And if you feel that there is an alternate pathway, as a patient, it's your right. It's your right and your privilege to look for an alternative that you cannot, take a position to.
Yeah, what's your opinion on teleconsultation, like over telling the symptoms and they telling the diagnosis directly from a call? Do you think it will be the most
Excellent.
accurate?
No, it again, a lot of judgment is required in all these things. But if done well, and especially in dealing with circumstances where patients are under what's called, situations where access to healthcare is poor, what's called underserviced areas, you can do a very good job. There are now whole pathways you can follow where you can ask the patient while you're watching them, saying, touch this point, press in this point, do this, show me this. And you can actually do a fairly good quality diagnosis today based on telemedicine, and especially in the areas that are underserviced. The effort taken by a patient to come to the doctor can sometimes involve even 2 or 3 days of traveling.
Yeah, exactly.
Which all of this can be cut across. So I think there is very, very definite place, and I think COVID clearly showed us that it can be done. A significant percentage of healthcare consultations can be done over video calls. I believe it's
Yeah,
very definitely a part of modern medical care, to being able to, and a lot of times, even in service areas, it makes no sense for a patient to come to see a doctor, traveling 1 hour, 1.5 hours, waiting in the consulting room for another hour to see the doctor for 2 minutes to show a report or something very minor,
yeah,
and then leave and go back. This whole transaction can be done within 3 minutes. You're sitting in Hyderabad,
exactly.
I'm sitting here. I'm not in Chennai. I'm in a place called Yerkad, which is extremely remote. Up till 4 years ago, I didn't even have internet over here. You're talking to each other comfortably,
Yeah,
so it is, telemedicine is an amazing advancement, and I think it is very definitely a component for patients. Patients like it, and especially if they trust the doctor, this transaction becomes so much easier than just over a phone call, no?
Yeah.
No, it's very, a lot of people are exploring this. I have a very close friend and my classmate from college, Dr. Ganapati, who is the leading telemedicine expert in India, in the world today. He's been doing this for nearly 25 years. In the last 3 to 4 years now, he is now he runs the big telemedicine facility for the Apollo Group, but he's internationally recognized as one of the pioneers of telemedicine. He's been doing it for 25 years now. And nobody, at one time, everybody, right now, he's now the king of the whole show. Just Google Dr. Ganapati, K. Ganapati for telemedicine. You'll find an awful lot of work he's done on that. But it's here to stay, no question.
Yeah. So with teleconsultation, what I think is, first thing is, in healthcare, I think there are two main things we have to take care of. One thing is convenience, and the second thing is cost. So if I take my personal experience, I will be seeing the most convenient option to meet the doctor, like on a video platform or else on a call, and I will see the cost also, mainly the cost actually, because most of the people, if they are going for if not serious problems, if they are going for mainly cosmetic reasons or something other things, they'll be seeing mostly like, okay, how less could I get this consultation with? So that's what the teleconsultations helps with. So taking two steps ahead, like taking two steps back, what is the single most problem that you have seen in the healthcare that is not being solved even right now?
That's not being?
What's the single most biggest problem that you have seen in the healthcare that is not being solved?
Oh, across the board, not telemedicine or anything specific.
Not telemedicine, in the whole care industry.
Single, that's a very easy answer. Single biggest healthcare problem that I see is cost. Healthcare costs have gone out of control. And unfortunately, I don't know if you know the statistics, the country with the largest out-of-pocket spending for healthcare expenditure is India. Out-of-pocket meaning there is no third-party provider picking up the bill. Where you go to most of the Western economies, either the state will pick it up, like if you go to the UK, the National Health Service, you don't pay a penny for anything, including the most advanced surgeries to GP practice. Even if you go to the US, the insurance will take care of all these things. The actual healthcare percentage that comes out of your pocket across the world, it's about an average of 14 to 15% of the total healthcare cost. In India, you know how much it is? 70%.
70%.
70% is the world's largest out-of-pocket component for healthcare spending. It is largely because most Indians don't have access to insurance. These organized sectors, the governmental healthcare sectors are often too overcrowded and too under-resourced to meet the demand. So the out-of-pocket spending is the highest in India. The world's highest is India. It can drive families below the poverty line. One expenditure out of unexpected, what is called a catastrophic health expenditure, can drive families below the poverty line. It's getting better. There are very many insurance schemes now kicking in. And in this regard, particularly the state that I'm in, Tamil Nadu, has come out with some really, really remarkable schemes for the bottom of the pyramid healthcare. They have this in the insurance scheme where a person who's registered as a BPL can access care in private hospitals or in good hospitals where the government will pay capitated rates. And that has made, recent experience I've had with several people whom I know who all had really, really outstanding treatment for no expenditure. We need more of that. We need some kind of packages where third-party providers have to, bear the cost, because ultimately there is no such thing as free care. Somebody pays for the care, whether it comes out of your taxes through the government or whether you pay out of your pocket. There is no such thing as free care. Okay, who's going to pay for it? And that's the question. As it stands now, the payment is coming out of the patient's own pocket. 60 to 65% of the healthcare expenditure that comes out in India is out-of-pocket expenditure. There is no coverage, and it can impoverish people. That is very definitely the number one priority. And as I can see it, states like Tamil Nadu are making fantastic, really, really impressive strides forward. But still, there's still a lot of ground to cover. But I think that is India's biggest challenge, is bringing in some kind of scheme where across the board, and it's not only the poor people, even middle class people. The middle class segment is getting larger and larger. And today, if you go and get admitted for whatever reason, if you're seriously ill, and you go admitted in an ICU, by the time you leave, your bill can come to 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, and all that for that single episode. Yeah. So who's to pay all that? So that is the challenge. On one hand, people want the best care. They want the bypasses. They want cancer treatment. They want the best of everything. Hip replacement. They want everything. So where is it going to come? Nothing is free, no? That is the challenge. Number one challenge in India is healthcare costs. How do we control them? And how do we find means for paying for it? And you're not talking about a small population. You're talking about 1.4 billion people.
Yeah, exactly.
No? We need some creative options for this. There is no, you cannot take what works in the Western world and just plug it in here and say it will play. It won't.
Yeah, that will
you need a lot of creative options. And to me, that has always been my concern. I think it's the biggest concern now. Healthcare costs.
So personally, I think teleconsultation has solved consultation problems mainly, I think. So because people can now directly talk with the doctor from their home. It solved many of the consultations problems. But when it comes to care and the actual physical surgeries and
anything, you need to be in the hospital. It has made the process of healthcare transaction a little smoother, but it's not going to, it's still the ultimate intervention is done in the hospital, for which there is, there's an expense, there is an effort, all that is involved.
Yeah.
And that is where the cost is. The cost comes only out of that, no?
Exactly.
And that's where, and that is enormous concern that we are not, that such a large proportion of the expenditure for healthcare for an average Indian comes out of his own pocket.
So why do you think the costs are so high? First point. And how do you think the cost can be reduced? Is there any other way, or else we should find out some other way to find someone else pay it, other than coming from our own pocket?
The hardest lesson to understand as far as this problem is concerned is the most effective cost prevention strategy is preventive. Don't get the disease at all. Okay?
Yeah.
Prevent diabetes, prevent high blood pressure, prevent obesity, make people exercise. It's only when you enforce all these preventive techniques that 20 years down the line, it will reflect as a lower incidence of cancer, a lower incidence of kidney failure, a lower incidence, and that will bring the whole healthcare cost burden down. Right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, preventive medicine is not popular. If you take 100 students in an MBBS class and ask them, does any one of you want to go into public health or preventive medicine? Not even one fellow will raise his hand.
Whoa.
Because there is it's not seen as challenging, no? But that's again, it's shifting now. It is a lot of it is shifting. People are realizing, especially in some of their most advanced states, that infectious diseases are no longer a major problem. The major healthcare problem is now what we call NCDs, or non-communicable diseases, which is your hypertension, blood pressure, obesity, cholesterol, and all that, diabetes, all of those problems. And there, the most effective cost reduction strategies are not in finding strategies for doing it cheaper when the problem occurs, but in finding strategies for preventing them at an early stage. An intervention of a few rupees can be effective. That's the only way that we are going to be bringing down healthcare costs is massive public education on what constitutes good care, what should you do, what should you not do. And that education won't get you the benefit tomorrow. It will only get you the benefit 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
Big, very big challenge. It's only young people like you who have got to come forward with the answers. You have the technology now. You have the technology to be able to disseminate all this information so easily. It's a challenge for you youngsters. My day is gone. I'm all what is called long gone past the sell-by date. It's you guys, young people, and I believe you can meet the challenge. I see a lot of young people. I'm always extremely encouraged by your intelligence, your commitment to making things better, and all kinds of things. I believe you guys can meet the challenge, but it's got to be clearly identified. The challenge is not in building more hospitals. The challenge is in educating and teaching people how to take care of their own health so they don't have to go to a hospital.
Exactly. But do you think people are actually doing it? Because coming from the perspective of hospitals, if you think in the marketing perspective, they will be needing more people to come into hospitals, so they won't be investing into preventive medicine.
You said it. You
Left.
said it. You said it. That is the problem, because India, besides being the largest out of care segment, is also, do you know, the most highly privatized healthcare economy in the world? The most
India.
highly privatized. Yeah. Where 80% of all inpatient care is delivered to the private sector. And in the private sector, again, 3/4 are all for profit.
Oh,
Their
wow.
investments in a for profit. That is the tragedy of Indian healthcare. Is the entire investment in healthcare in India, curative healthcare in India, has been made as a business. And as a business, your first responsibility is to shareholders. You're not interested in the patients, you're only interested in the shareholders. Very big tragedy. Very big tragedy. I don't know how we're going to reverse it. Because getting that sense of responsibility when you run healthcare as a business is two contradictory things. You know?
Yeah.
And that is again a very, very, how are we going to take back or find models where you can enforce responsibility on the private sector? Tell them, audit them. Tell them to show you why are you charging so much. Make that audit accessible to patients. Allow comparisons of costs. And that's a huge challenge, trying to make the private sector both competitive and quality conscious. Huge challenge. That can be made by information dissemination. That's what people like you need to do. Put up systems where you can compare costs, where you can compare quality. You can do all that. The technology today allows, you know, where you can do all the amount of database manipulation that you can look at. Enormous technology can be a very big enabler to counter this. But the problem right there is it lies high degree of privatization. Not just privatization, even in private sector, there are not-for-profit private sectors. I worked for my entire life for a not-for-profit private sector. But the corporatization of the private sector, that's the whole problem. Entire thing is corporate. And when you say corporate, it means only one thing, dividends to shareholders, whoever they are, whether it is one person or like Apollo Hospital, thousands of people, their primary responsibility is to the shareholders.
Yeah.
So they will optimize bottom line. But competition can be an enabler. If you make them compete in the marketplace to give the best care for the lowest prices, that would be a step forward.
Yes.
So you need that technology you can do.
Yeah. Another problem that I saw in healthcare is that people are not disclosing their cost. No one discloses. They won't say it in public.
Yep. My hospital is the only hospital where we used to give an itemized bill that ran into 20 and 30 pages. So much so the insurance companies used to complain, saying it's so difficult going through your bills. Give us one master sheet. That is again a huge problem. Not telling you, if I charge you X rupees, you tell me where it went, they won't give you the answer. So those are all things that you guys have to enforce. You have to bring in, civil society has to bring in that pressure, saying, okay, if you charge me, tell me under what heads you charged me, and I will make comparisons. I will go to a database that allows me to make comparisons. All that you guys have to bring in. That's the challenge for you guys. The technologists and the younger generation have to bring the corporate sector to book. They have to force them, you know, the corporate sector will try and only optimize profit. That's their nature. That's why they're the corporate sector, right? You can't blame them for it. But at the same time, all just by saying your corporate sector doesn't mean you're bad, right? There are lots of very responsible players in the corporate sector also. Make that so you have technologies that will allow you to separate the responsible people from the profiteers, allow you to make cost comparisons, allow you to assess your own quality. The technology of today allows you to do it so easily. You know, you can do that all. That's how you put pressure. No, you know, not by saying you do everything free. That won't work. How can they do it free? It costs them also, right? How can they? They are not getting electricity free. They are not getting medicines free. They're getting nothing free. But the problem, you know, quality, outcomes, all those things have to be audited. And tell me that you're providing this value for this number of money.
Yes. They won't actually disclose that. Many doctors won't disclose their consultation fees. They won't say their
that is changing now. Because as more and more insurance segment is now coming into repayment, and that is a very healthy sign, the insurance people are asking for breakdowns. And
Yes.
they're making comparisons because they have access to multiple hospitals. They're saying if hospital X is able to do it for this rate, why are you charging 30% more?
Yeah.
If there is a need for that, you show it to me by proof.
Yeah.
So that pressure is now coming. As the insurance segment is going and is enlarging, we're finding that they're demanding more comparisons, more questions. So that itself puts pressure back on the corporate sector to keep their care costs down, because otherwise they'll have no patients at all. And today, more and more of the middle class are going through third-party cover insurance now. Private hospitals are all increasingly having to, and there are all of this, a lot of thing going on, but there should be more effort. And technology, that's why I'm such a believer in technology. I believe technology is the biggest leverage, especially today's technology. So much leverage you can have over, not in a bad sense. In a good way, you can have so much that you guys can do. How old are you, if I may ask?
21.
Oh, wow. You know how old I am?
How?
Huh? I'll be 72 this summer. Half a
72.
century older than you. One half of a century older than you.
Actually, I didn't want to call you with your name, but it seems so formal that I wanted to call you, sir.
That doesn't matter at all. I've never stood on that formality, but I'm very confident that well-motivated young people can make a huge difference. In my class, graduating class of around 160 people in 1975 when we finished, roughly 100 of my classmates emigrated, mostly to the US, a lot of them to England. This was 1975. In 2023, there are only 2 people who came back to India permanently from that group. Myself and my wife came back in 1981.
Oh.
So, and we came back. Why? Because we believed you could make a change, and you can. And I believe it is easier for you guys now. You're much more, the platform from which you're able to go is much higher. You guys can make a change. I have a lot of faith in younger people.
Yeah, taking my case, I studied BTech, but I'm more interested in healthcare. Actually, I don't know why, but
pursue it. You've got 2 advantages now. You have a technology background that you can use, talk to people, find out the niches, areas where you can make the maximum impact. There are a lot of young people like you working in all these areas. Stick with healthcare. It's very, very vital. You'll be doing good service, making change. It's a very, very competitive also. There are lots of people who are there, but stick with healthcare. It's a very good choice.
Yeah, I see many of the people in my age are actually making AI tools, which makes the consultation process much easier. They're doing the total screening and online itself by taking images and getting data from the patient directly. So many of my friends are actually working on those AI tools also. So as you said, till now, have you seen any platform which are comparing the prices of these hospitals? Is there any other platform doing that? Is there a market for that?
There is a huge market for that. There already is somebody who has the data. It's what's called the IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Authority of India, something like that. But they won't share that information. But there is scope for that. Find out some technical way. Again, as I said, everybody is rushing into AI and diagnosis. It's like keep running together. Where I have been telling people, if you want to make an impact, as healthcare costs.
Yeah, I think I see a big market.
Why is healthcare? Why is every element of healthcare so costly? How can we control it? How can we optimize costs? And it's going same thing. It's going to be a lot of data analysis. It will be a very, very excellent area for you to get in. Using technology to look at costs.
As you said, you gave a wonderful idea. Comparing
you're a young person. What you should also do is train yourself in costing and accountancy.
Sorry,
basics of economics, basics of healthcare economics. Train yourself on that also. That's easy to get, because that'll give you a better idea on this. And this is a field where you'll have no competitors. And you'll make a huge impact. You'll make a terrific impact on society. Directly you may not be treating patients, but the overall impact in terms of reducing healthcare costs.
Yes.
All that is possible. Any number of ideas are there.
So as you said, this idea is so great, like comparing prices. Till now, I think no other tool actually came up. No other website. We don't have any website which compares the prices in local hospitals.
Exactly. What should it be? What can I expect? And that data can be collected.
Yes.
It's actually there. The data, the information data is there, but it's held by a government organization that does not share it.
So,
I was
so how
working with
would
a group.
yeah.
He used to be working with a consumer group where we tried getting this information. It was very difficult.
So how do we get
You
it?
almost
Should we
have
ask
to.
them
No, you
manually?
can political pressure, civil society pressure. Keep on working at it. They're only the government. They have to give you share the information.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's for a public cause.
Yeah.
Right?
So how do you think I should get
If
started with
nothing,
it? Like,
no, if nothing, you can do something very simple. You put up a site where people submit their bills
yeah.
in confidence. Say, this is how much I spent. You have to be honest. Ask them to do it under breakdowns. You give them some broad headings. And just say, don't do anything, just give us this number. Then ask them for information like, where did you get treated? Some basic demographic information. Then ask the database will build.
So one thing is we can get the data from the customer themselves. Another thing is we could get the data from the hospital itself or the person who has treated. I mean, the person, I think people who are actually working in this field doesn't know about the margins each person gets. I think it is going totally to the corporate system itself. It is going into the system, but each person, what is the split to them, they don't know anything mostly.
Yeah,
So
you'll
it
have
will
to,
also.
some strategies for that you'll have to work on.
Yeah. So recently I met a person called Bidan Chaudhary. He's running Taka Healthcare. I think you may be aware of him. He's running a secondary elective surgeries. His startup is about reducing the cost of secondary elective surgeries. So what he did is he actually, instead of people going to the corporate hospital themselves, they actually made some small clinics. They could get into the clinic and the surgery can happen there only. They have not hide. They connected with those surgeons and they are directly coming into the clinic and they're treating the patients. So here it is reducing the cost of consultations and it is reducing the cost of surgery itself. And even it made the marketing process of surgeons also easy because surgeons can find the patients easily right now. So yeah, that is one idea I saw recently. So what do you think about this? Like democratizing and reducing the cost by reducing the corporate systems themselves and running it on a small scale.
That's one approach, no question at all.
Yeah.
Many years ago, 40, 50 years ago, there was an economist called Eric Schumacher who actively pushed the concept of small is beautiful, that you can achieve big things by keeping your economies of scale small. Then we all got caught up on this globalization and the idea that unless you're a transnational corporation, you can't do anything. And this concept of being able to deliver small, focused areas where you accept some, some inconveniences and some disadvantages, that's been completely brushed aside. From what you're telling me, I think this person is using the same philosophy.
Yes, exactly.
In the sense, that what they call small is beautiful, where you can look for doing small strategies at a fraction of the cost, provided you're willing to forego a lot of other things that may not even be necessary.
Exactly. So one thing he's doing is he's helping with the marketing of surgeons because surgeons themselves, they have the skill, but they don't have the ability to market themselves in the market.
Yeah.
So one thing is he's connecting the surgeon directly with the patient. He's providing patients directly with the clinic. I think hospitals does that, but it can't provide that scale to surgeons that easily.
No, a lot of these strategies you have to look at. No question. And as you already mentioned early on, healthcare itself is being threatened by information technologies in a very big way.
Yes.
So a lot of doctors are feeling that pressure now. They're feeling the pressure that unless they do something different, patients, they're going to start losing patients.
Yes. So I see the main shift, it's going to be more than the skill. They have to go more towards marketing their skill.
Exactly. And that many doctors are not comfortable doing.
Yes.
They're not comfortable doing at all. So lots of strategies. India, particularly since our background and our real situation is so much different. Unfortunately, what we have done is we have picked up a lot of bad practices from Western medicine and put them into our health economy. Whereas there are other good practices there also that we have not yet absorbed. So it's and then inherently there are problems that we have to be able to find the answers by ourselves. Nobody's going to tell us the answer. But right now, when you look at the position of India, after so many years, we are not so confident. We are able to stand up to the world and say, forget it. We are no longer a nation that can be pushed around. We are the world's fifth largest economy. And you see our foreign minister talking in all these forums. Have you listened to his, what's his name? Jaishankar, foreign minister, India's foreign
Jason.
minister. Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
must
didn't
listen,
actually.
man. You should see the confidence with which he speaks, the authority, the confidence. We're no longer the third-rate nation that many people were kept telling us. We're one of the globe's leaders. We have the confidence, we have the abilities, we have young people who can do it. I think you're looking at all of this from the best possible time to be an Indian. Because right now,
Yes, exactly.
we're no longer second-rate citizens of the world. Far from it. That day is gone. We're able to find, fund, and solve our own problems. We've come to that stage now. And I'm sure if young people like you really put your heart into it, you'll be really seeing some fantastic changes. Indians are no longer second rate. We're top. And if anything, we have many advantages that China does not have.
Yes.
We are definitely there. And America is a dying society, if I may say so. They are having tons of problems. American healthcare is the wrong model to imitate. They are the
Yes.
world's most expensive healthcare model, after which there are millions of people who still don't have healthcare, delays, everything. So that's not a model that we should look at anymore. We should look at our own, evolve some of our own things. And I think we are positioned now where we have the confidence and the ability to do it.
Yes.
I think so. When I'm talking to people like you, the reason why I'm willing to spend time with people like you is my greatest thing has always been mentoring the young. And, I think it's like, this is time well spent.
Yeah.
I think it's
Thanks a
something that
lot
you
for
need.
spending the time.
And absolutely, if you need to come back to me for anything, feel free to. I'm retired. I have, and as I told you, I came back to this country out of a sense of a mission. Out of my entire class, only two of us, my wife and I, are the only two people who came back because we believed in India. I came back and I stayed back. Okay, and I think so. And it's a lot easier now to believe in India than it did when I came back in 1981. There was nothing available at that time, no? Indian healthcare was
Yeah.
still, India as a society itself was so poor. Not the case
Yes.
now. The 40 years that I've been around, the change in this country is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Even now I believe even more strongly in India than I ever did. And I see young people like you, I really, really think that you need to take this country forward, and you can.
You've
Look
seen the
at this,
whole
costs
timeline.
in healthcare. Yeah, costs in healthcare. That would be a very, very big area. And like look at strategies for how do we get real figures, how can we compare costs, how can we do work on costs, healthcare costs. Nobody's seeing that. Everybody's talking the other end, diagnosis, AI, technology, because this is
Yeah.
not glamorous, but it'd be very impactful.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Okay.
personally, yeah. Can I tell you one last thing? Like personally, I'm
Yeah.
working as for building customer and client acquisition systems for healthcare startups. So one problem it is solving is that many consultants, many healthcare consultants, sorry, many healthcare people who are there, they're unable to find customers that easily. They have the skill themselves, but they're unable to market digitally. So many
Mm-hmm.
people haven't even shifted onto teleconsultation because they don't have the skill themselves. So I'm helping them
Mm-hmm.
with that, and along with that, I'm helping them also build the scale in order to increase their customer acquisition. So that's what I'm doing. So how do you suggest? How do I improve on this? Like with my services, first thing, like my services is all about acquiring customers for the healthcare startup. And another thing is how, considering your field, how do we improve the healthcare service itself from the perspective of marketing?
I have not been very strong on marketing because, as I said, I've never actively done marketing. We have
Yes.
believed that our quality of care will do its own marketing. But
Yeah, I've
that
heard of
day
it.
is gone, very definitely is gone. There's no question at all today. You do have to market. You have to market institutions, you have to market facilities. And there again, the only thing is creating a sense, like we talked about earlier, that confidence in a doctor is extremely important, right? Trust and confidence. You use the word trust. Same way, that's what you have to build up. Whatever it is that you're delivering, we have to make sure that patients say that if I go to this individual, I can be
Yes.
confident that he will not lie to me, that he will give me the best. That takes time. That you can only do by being uncompromising on the quality that you deliver.
Yeah.
Just because something is giving you money doesn't mean you can take it. There will be times when the money will look great, but it won't sit well with your heart. Walk away from all those things. Listen to your heart. I think it's very, very important that inside you there is something motivating you. Listen to that and make sure it's telling you the right thing. That's what you build. You build a whole clientele based on the fact that they say that if I go to this person, he will not do the wrong thing by me. I can trust
Yes.
him. That takes time. Building the trust takes time, and that is creating the feeling that you're solidly on the side of your customer.
Yeah.
If it means going the extra mile for it, you do it. If it means
Yeah.
losing money for it, you do it. If it means walking away from money because it does not sit well with you, you do it. That's
Exactly.
what you build. There is no strategy or technology or then going to make you leapfrog. That's got to come from within you. Got to come from within you.
So the one main thing I saw is creating trust, which is very hard with marketing online.
Yes.
So if there's a service, if there's a doctor whose service is so great, but but the marketing aspect of it is so hard. How do we show it online? Like how do we portray it? People are still into physical consultations more. If I believe that actually because um, they still can't believe doctors who are doing online consultations. They find it
The question
hard
of
to
trust
trust. I
again.
don't know why. Yes, question of trust.
No, then
So
you
how
have to
do
go
we?
rely
Yeah,
on feed. You have to rely on feedback a lot. You have to go back to these people and say, how was the experience? Did you like
yeah,
it or did you not like it? If you liked it, why? If you didn't like it, why? And start building
yes,
that up so that those issues can be addressed and fed back to the provider. I think
exactly.
your greatest there will be to go to the receiver, the person who's receiving the care, ask them,
Yeah,
do an experience evaluation. Spend
yes,
a few well-chosen questions, you know, what was good, what was bad, why was it good, why was it bad? That is will allow you
yeah,
to, you know, your direction into the right area. You have to, get all of this comes with effort. No, you can't do it as a single. You have to take time.
yes. So I have another question. Like, how do we start from the zero? Like, if I started a healthcare startup right now and have zero customer acquisition, zero customers, totally
Yeah.
from scratch, how do I start getting customers from there, digitally and also offline? Can you, like, how do you do it? If you are
All
putting
of
the
us
business,
have the same problem. We all started with zero, but you have a clear goal, have a clear, uh, write down or establish what your goals are. And a lot of it is again being persistent. You have to keep
yes,
on. Every time that you see there's an opening, go after it. Don't expect anything in return. It takes time. There are no shortcuts in this at all. You have to, you believe in what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You know your
yes,
target. Just keep going. It's not going to happen overnight. Apollo Hospitals is not going to come to you tomorrow and say, Sandeep, you do all this for me. No. Some little fellow somewhere who's struggling like you, who doesn't know how to do it, you help him, he does better. Then he'll go around and he becomes a big guy, or while he's growing, you'll tell other people, hey, listen, this guy is very good. That's all. There's no shortcut
yes,
to it at all.
yes,
Most people don't realize that Apollo Hospital itself, Dr. P.C. Reddy, who is 90 years old today, and who by
yes,
all accounts is the pioneer of healthcare in India, he
yes,
started as a single physician. I remember the
yes,
day in the 1970s, he was a cardiologist who had a single room and a clinic. That's it. No, but he had the confidence, the ability, and grew slowly. So it's the same way. It takes time. It
exactly.
really takes time, but don't compromise on your principles. Don't do anything that does not sit comfortably with you.
Yes.
No? Okay. Do we call it a day?
Yeah, that's it. So I have one other last question for you. This is for you
Okay.
actually,
Last
not
question.
for you. Sorry, for me only actually.
No, no,
What's
no. Ask,
the?
ask. That's all it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I think this call went so long. Yeah, it got above 1 hour. So what's the single best advice that you'll give to a person like me
Um,
from your whole experience?
single, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Make a clear statement of what you are, who you are, and what you want to do, and have 100% belief in yourself. Don't let others inform you. Don't let others sway you or say, hey, what are you doing? This is so stupid. Don't do this. Look at everybody else. No. You write out a clearly worded statement of purpose. If you want, write it and send it to me. I will share it with you. I will critique it with you. That is, what is your driving mission? Where do you see yourself 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now? Put it down as a written statement. Okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how outlandish you may think it may be. It should sit well with you. Write that. Keep looking at it every now and then. Go back to it and have faith in yourself. But you start with a mission statement that you write out for yourself. That's the advice I give everybody. Write your own mission statement. You can modify it over time as you go along, but right now you must know you won't get to someplace unless you know where you want to go, right? That's the thing that people don't realize. Every one of the youngsters whom I have encountered who have achieved big things knew from the first time I met them what they wanted to be. Bang, they knew right then. Even though they're 21, 22 years old, they knew they had the clarity of vision of this is where I see myself. And they got that. Do the same thing. Where do you see yourself being? Write it out as a mission statement, write out a pathway, and stick to it. Have faith in yourself. Don't listen to anybody else.
So what if I didn't figure it out yet? What do I do about that? If I haven't figured it out, and if I think some other thing is better than this?
It takes time, but it takes a lot of introspection. Sit and do it when you're calm. As that confusion, you're very young. And, the sense of not having figured it out is not, but you have at least some ideas, some basic broad ideas from what I'm sensing. Start there.
Yes.
Start there. Do a lot of, reading, a lot of looking at people who have done well with their lives. But start by maintaining a small diary. So you put down all these ideas. Where do you want to go? Have the clarity of vision has got to be there. Because again, as I said, unless you know where you're going, you won't know how to get there. So that's your first statement. Where do you want to be? And go after it. Okay, so we call it quits. I'm an old man. I can only sit in front of a computer for so long.
Thanks a lot.
I have sat in front of computers for longer than anybody I know. I got my first computer in 1979, an Apple II Plus. I've been sitting in front of a screen from then. So anyway, thanks, Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you for the good session. Come back to me if you need any help.
Yeah, sure. I'll be
back to me if you need help. I'll be very happy.
We will get on a call again. I did it right on the go, and even those questions and all I haven't prepared. I did it right on the go. So the next time the call will be much more precise and to the point. Sorry?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be very happy to do it with you. Feel free to keep this at the end of the conversation. This is the beginning.
Yes.
I'll take it forward with you.
Sorry, the voice. Yeah, I could hear you. Can you repeat what you said before?
I'm going to leave.
Yeah, okay.
I said I'm going to leave. I said feel confident to come back to me. I have no problem sitting and talking. It's easy nowadays. So come back to me. I'll be more than happy to help you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I have learned a lot from what you said, from your whole experience and everything. Thanks a lot. It's very great.
Okay, all the best. Bye.